Good evening, judges. We are Madam Jumbo, and I'm Sadia Zaman, and our case was about smart migration. Well, as you can see from this graph, remittance has always been a key factor to our economy. It has contributed significantly to our GDP growth, and it has boosted our economic performance by far. About 50.8% of our net exports is actually made up of remittance. It contributes this lot to our exports, surpassing all other earnings from other sources. About 440,000 workers bring 11.65 billion USD dollars. But the sad part is, compared to the amount of people that are sitting abroad as migrant workers, this amount of money is supposed to be a greater number. Why isn't it so? Because of the problems that our migrant workers are facing out there. They are not really being paid well enough, and they don't even have good jobs to sustain their lives out there. These heroes, they're really not getting paid enough well. For example, why are they actually not getting access to whatever other expats from other countries are getting? Because, for example, this driver has been bugging her family a lot to get them a new driver. He wants to quit the job. Why? Well, there's this guy who has promised him to take him to Malaysia within a 15 days time frame, and he needs to go abroad. He just wants to leave all of this here because apparently in Bangladesh it will take him a lot of time to get his fortune built up. He wants to go there, get a good job, get enough money, and provide for his family easily. What this guy is missing out on is that the person, the dalal who he went to actually take him abroad, is probably not even a good source to take him abroad. He's probably a fraud, or even if that person might not be a fraud either, our driver doesn't even know the basics of going to Malaysia. He doesn't know enough cultural etiquettes. He doesn't know another language other than Bangla perhaps. What this person lacks is everything that's required to go from here to there, the ABCDs. He doesn't know what passport is, what visa is, what sort of job he might get there. All he's doing is he's living up his dream. He's thinking, if I go there, I'll get a good job, I'll just become rich overnight, and it'll be a fine life for me. Our migrant workers, they're suffering abroad because of these reasons. They're not trained. They're not even trained properly. They don't know what to do. A person who wants to go abroad and become a maid perhaps doesn't even know how microwave works. So they are not trained, and they're not even acquiring those skills. They don't even speak any other languages other than Bangla, most of them, and that is why they're lagging behind compared to other expats. They don't have the language proficiency. Moreover, they don't even know that they need to acquire these skills. They just think that I'm a human being, I'll go, I'll work, and I'll earn money. And that country that they're going into, that country will be far better than their ones. So, see, they have awareness as well. They don't know who to go to, who will give them the sufficient information, who will actually make this whole process quite transparent to them. And then, obviously, lack of information. All the dalals are telling them is that, you give me money, I'll take you there, you'll have a good life. They don't know what to expect. They don't know what sort of life standards they're going to have over there. All this information, they don't have it there out in front of them. Last but not the least, there is this financial barriers on them. They have to collect money, the fund that they need to actually get through to other country. And because of this, they are not even going to take loan, because the loan takes a lot of time with a lot of interest. So they just sell whatever they have. They sell their properties. They take loans from friends and family. And then by creating a huge financial barrier, they just somehow manage to go abroad and then just suffer for the rest of it. Now, for this, we have worked at some solutions, and my friend Sifat bin Rakib is going to discuss it with you guys.
Hi guys. So tell me, the problem that Sajid has described with a marketing campaign is enough to address all those problems. Yeah, probably. We'll probably educate one single wave of the migrant workers and we'll probably get done with it. And after that, it's not a sustainable solution. There's those problems will cease to exist. Will cease to exist after the marketing campaign ends. So moving on, what we thought, like we could actually come up with a sustainable solution to this problem. How could we do that? We conducted very extensive researches. We went to a training center in Mipu, I guess it was named Bangladesh Korean Training Center. So we conducted a survey among 10 workers and about 2 experts. It was a holidays, we couldn't get more of them. Anyway, so what we saw is that the problem that they had is that they didn't have everything in one place. They didn't know, if we do that, how can I do that? If I go backwards, how can I go forward? These are the confusions. These are the metaphorical confusions that they had. Moving on. So what we thought is that if we could come up with a sustainable solution which addresses all those problems and get rid of them in a sustainable way, that's how we could actually get rid of all the problems that she described. So So to address those things, we need two policies implemented. First of all, migrant workers cannot migrate without the certifications, without certain certifications, and training centers must implement the suggested changes. Yes. So the thing that I first basically described in the previous slide, that was in the previous slide, that Probasi Proshikhan Pratishthan, it basically is a training center. We are basically adding more features to a training center and making it more effective, making it more effective to provide the migrant workers with the solution, and society with the solution, and foster the GDP growth, the economic growth that we have because of these migrant workers. Moving on, so what is this Probasi Proshikhan Pratishthan? What are the features that we are adding? Let's go through them. Basically, we are, first of all, we're going to add job centers. We're going to provide them with better training, documentation, foreign languages, and technical skills, cross-cultural training, and whatnot. Moving on, we're going to establish some vocational training, integration with Probasi Kodal Bank to provide to get rid of the financial barrier that she talked about, and then we're going to exercise an expertise on the skills to simulation, then we're going to move on to consultation facilities and certificate to ensure readiness. That's basically the final step. Now, how are we going to ensure that step by step? Just move on. Now, this is basically how we do that. At first, we can conduct an awareness campaign to let them know about the suggested changes. Then moving on to the service, how it actually works. The first thing is basically job search. We're going to get a proper integration with overseas jobs, and that's how we are going to implement the third party. Moving on, then the consultants, we're going to get expert consultancy expert consultants who actually understand the situation, who can actually talk to them, who can actually communicate with them. Moving on, there's proper training. We're going to get proper training through job training, language training, and cultural training. Basically, it's most of the time, it's the last thing that the training centers actually miss, because they don't know what the trainee is actually looking for, what the trainee actually needs in case to migrate to a certain country for a certain job. Moving on, we're going to provide them with simulation. Based on their performance in this simulation, we're going to score them. Based on this score, we're going to provide the certificate. If they don't have that certificate, well, they will have to basically go through step number 4 again. Step number 4 again, and that's how we're basically going to ensure that our trainees are better trained or perfectly trained. Anyway, now my friend Pinky is going to talk about the marketing campaign that we're going to do and how we're going to do that.
Thank you, Sifan. Good evening, judges. So how do we campaign our big idea of the job center? So first of all, let's look at the primary target market, which is obviously the migrant workers. So these migrant workers are normally between 20 to 35 years of age, and they are earning an income of about 5 to 12,000 on average. And the main thing that they're looking for, the main thing that they believe is going abroad can help them earn better wages so that they can provide for their families better. Now, how do we come in here? We have a motto of Dokho Hobe Provashi Hajbe Opare Bangladeshi. We are going to ensure that through safe migration, they get all the needs, all the requirements, all the checkboxes ticked to make sure that when they are going overseas, they don't lack anything, they don't have problems in anything in coping up with the situation abroad. And we're also going to give them facilitated loans. That means they don't have to sell off all their assets and all their life's earnings just to go abroad. They can take loans with our affiliated organization, and they can get loans at a cheaper interest rate with a good grace period so that they can pay it easily. So how do we connect to them? So obviously by above the line media using TV, we're going to show them movies, and they're going to be awareness ads both in the rural and urban areas. And we will also have print medias like billboards and banners in both rural and urban areas. For rural areas, we have extra of preaching through bouts and the village heads and stage dramas like jatras. And for urban areas, we're going to have road shows. Our second entry target market is the people at the top of the pyramid, the socio-economic class A, who are basically the rich people or the corporate people, and they have an income of about 60,000 and above, and their age range is of 35 years and above. And they're looking for some way to contribute back to the economy. And also some firms are also very interested in CSR activities and PR activities which these CSR activities generate. So we're going to help them, and our motto for them would be Ege Ashu, and help these migrant workers achieve what they need. And how are we going to target them? Again, we have our above the line media, which is TVs and awareness advertisements. And for the below the line media, we're going to use social media because at this point they're all educated people, the rich corporate houses, and they're all very involved in social media like Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and LinkedIn is a professional social media for professionals. So through this, we're going to make them aware, and this is going to help us reach our target markets very fast because through social media, the word of mouth is very, very fast. So that will enable us to achieve our goal. Thank you. Now I'll ask Niladri to elaborate on that.
Thank you, Bilkish. So basically our marketing campaigns, our promotional tools are very common, but we've been very creative with that. Our first idea is promoting using an existing movie. Over here we're talking about a romance comedy, a South Korean romance comedy about a migrant worker, Bangladeshi migrant worker who goes to South Korea, and basically we're going to show it on BTV at 3 p.m., which is one of the peak times in rural regions. The basic part is, the more interesting part is that during these advertisement breaks, we're going to release our advertisements that we will be creating through our campaign as well, and therefore it brings about more people to watch it. But what advertisements are we talking about? We've come up with two advertisements, right? First one targets the migrant workers. Those advertisements include messages that introduce the importance of proper training, the problems behind not getting proper training and whatnot, and it will be channeled on BTV. But the second kind of advertisements are for people at the top of the pyramid, right? These advertisements will create the social impression that is so important in the society right now. Because right now, the more advertisement you create that acknowledges how much importance and how much distribution and how much people have contributed, these migrant workers have contributed to the economy, the more people are going to like them, and the more corporates and other people are more willing to fund through our Probashi Proshikhan Pratishthan. So as for our print media, we're going to be starting from the poorer areas, which are the red regions over here, and we're going to be using various methods like newspapers, tea stalls, hat bazaars, highways, near mosques, etc., using flyers, posters, and whatnot. But our print media isn't basically about all writing. It includes images more, and it sends across a better idea. Dakho hobe probashi, hashbe oparer Bangladeshi. And the other one being Ege Ashun, that is more targeted towards people to fund these migrant workers in the first place. We're going to be introducing stage dramas as well, because these are the forms that run the most in the rural regions. But furthermore, we're also going to go for preaching as well. We're going to target people that these workers from rural regions listen to the most. For example, the elderlies of the villages or imams and whatnot. And we're going to ask them to portray the message of going for our Pratishthan. But lastly, we're also going to target village to village using our roadshows. We're going to be sending people there and basically making them talk to the people to get the message across that if you want to go to another country, make sure you do it the right way and make sure you do it through our big idea. But lastly, we're also going to be very active on social media, sharing success stories and sharing campaign updates and whatnot. The impression that it creates is also going to help these corporate individuals to start to take into account about the CSR activities that can happen. So lastly, so for the campaign channel and whatnot, Sadia is going to come up and explain the rest to you. Thank you.
It's the predicted estimated campaign that we have made, starting from when we're going to start, how we're going to do it, and how it's going to end. Move on. So now, the big idea. What's our big idea again? We are going to redesign the existing vocational training centers and make it actually efficient. We are going to give training to them, give them enough cultural knowledge, cross-cultural knowledge. We're going to make them we're going to make them learn new languages, make them proficient in terms of languages, and we're actually ensuring a sustainable solution to the migrant problem. Why? Because the wave of a year long, it'll just come and then pass away. But the vocational training centers, they're going to stay there. Migrant workers can come, get training, and get efficient and competent as long as they want to. And this campaign that we're designing, it will actually boost up the promotion for these job centers that we are offering, the Probashi Proshikhan Pratishthan. People will get to know, they will come up, and they'll be able to go through this. Did we really solve the problem? Well, of course we did. Asymmetric information, we're solving that. We're giving them more information. We're solving the poor skills problem. We are giving them enough training. Now we are actually taking out the financial barriers. We are giving them provincial and banks from which they can easily take the loans and then facilitate their journey. And we are actually letting them know through all the marketing campaign that we are doing, so they have proper awareness as well. And then we are actually making them proficient in the language terms and helping them overcome language barriers. So through these tools, we are actually ensuring an efficient and sustainable solution and ensuring smart migration. Thank you, judges. That will be all.
Thank you. Right, let me start. First of all, thank you for being here. Have you done some real research into who are your key stakeholders? I mean, one of the overwhelming thoughts that I've had during the presentation is that there's one group who are migrants, and then there's another group who are fairly affluent in the society, and they need to know. So what the releases are quite a lot of other people who are in this chain.
Sorry, the last sentence.
So when we talk about migration problems, and if you consider even the example given in your case study or take any other example, it's not only the migrant or affluent urban population who have access to Facebook.
So basically you're asking that why did we target the affluent population?
I'm asking whether you have looked at the whole chain and really understood which are the key stakeholders and what really role they play into the whole process.
We created an organization, Provashi Proshikhan Pratishthan, and what the other individuals involved here, for example, the migrants' families or the dalal people that these migrants go to get these jobs. We basically, after introducing this particular institution, these people are going, either the people who hook them migrants up with these jobs are going to work for the institution, or the families that are going to be benefited through the migrant, automatically benefited through the migrants' jobs as well. So we kind of thought that through introducing the institution, we're not changing much, but we're not actually bringing a change to the supply chain, but we're monitoring it properly and fitting it onto our criteria better.
If you're talking about targeting the third
Do you
order,
really feel that a dalal would work for you?
no,
Or
we're
organization?
eliminating that part of the supply chain. Actually, we're trying to eliminate the part of the supply chain. Through we are providing the jobs. We are providing. We are basically getting integrated with foreign jobs. We are bringing the information in, and that's how basically we don't actually. We're actually trying to eliminate the need of a third person.
And it seems like you're putting quite a lot of thoughts into the Proshikhan Center. And then I saw a kind of chart around how the whole certification works and gets back. If I want to go, and I don't really care, and when I need a certificate, I can simply get a visa, one-time visa, and then I simply can go. And then to make it scalable for Bangladesh, do you have any idea how many of these centers you need to build? And that's a massive task, right? I mean,
Basically, that's a redesign training center. That's basically redesigning the training centers. I mean, the training centers are already out there, such as Bangladesh Korean Training Center. But these basically.
but how many of these are there?
Well, that's why we introduced the policy.
When you redesign something other than the building itself, you don't get anything. That also means that I guess where I'm trying to get to is you have thought through one single kind of you thought about one problem, and you have put some thoughts around a few bits and pieces here and there. But if I'm the government and I'm one of your key stakeholders, I've got massive infrastructure across my my own administrative level, and I would rather not have another layer introduced. Rather, try to use these as much as possible. The Union Information Center, these and that, and then how to best utilize this.
Well, sir, we are already utilizing the existing vocational training centers, and we are gonna give the campaign. We are gonna actually let people know that we are existing, and we will obviously through preaching, we will use these union brochures and all that. There will be people who will be. They will actually act as information booths. So whenever a migrant worker who is actually thinking that maybe I should get a training and then go there, and he wants to access us, then he will be able to go to that union brochure center of his area and then get to us eventually. That is how we actually designed it. There will be information centers or kiosks and they will relate to the vocational training centers that we are going to redesign.
Currently, migration information is available in all those books. You can create a campaign that generates some sort of awareness. I'll give you that. Try to understand there is a reason why a particular woman in the village they don't go there, and understanding that problem will give you or lead you to a certain different solution. How to get them there, or even more, there are social reasons why they cannot go there, why they depend on someone they trust, possibly rightly or wrongly, and give them all the money they need and everything, and then eventually feel suffer.
This is why we designed the Jatras. See, Jatra is such an entertainment that every one of
Do you
them.
think a woman from the village goes to Jatra?
They go to see it, or at least they'll
Oh,
hear
no,
from it
it's
from
taboo.
others.
It's taboo.
Through every instrument, if you're referring to like a particular process, a particular blurry process of the top level that you're referring to that, we're basically trying to represent that it's not going to be blurry, it's going to be transparent. We're going to present the transparency through every media that we have introduced.
Through preaching as well. People are going to go door to door, they're going to let them know, and then there are the bows and the village heads who actually even the ladies listen to. They do depend on them. They will trust their words.
And we actually expected once we move at the end of the campaign, as we introduce them to this new process and this new thing, like word of mouth will get out. If we are successful, they will be more attractive.
Now they don't want to go through all this process because they think it's a big hassle. They'll have to go through training centers. It'll have to delay their process of going abroad. But then we're giving them the right information. We are actually presenting what happens to people who go like this through a third party without having enough skills, without having enough knowledge. So I think that will inflict some sort of fear into their minds, and they'll actually be more inspired to take the training, go through the proper way, and actually ensure a better future of them over there.
Build on to these questions, basically. Can you explain in one line what is actually Pravashni Proshikal Position?
It's Migrant Training Center. We're just going to rename the existing vocational training centers. We are doing this because now the vocational training centers are there, but they're not getting enough response. Migrant workers are not going there. We are going to redesign this whole thing. We're going to make a marketing campaign about it, raise awareness about it, let them know about it, and just redesign these.
I understand. I have to stop you here because what I'm trying to understand is you have 10,000 vocational training centers right now, which are gone on. You have different NGO like Bangladesh Korea and Bangladesh Japan and everything, JITCO, you name it. There are a lot of other technical things. So why particularly your organization would be so different that people will no longer go there and come to you?
It's actually not a different organization. We're actually the Prabashi Proshikal Position is the name that we suggest that these vocational trainings have.
We're bringing all the centers under one umbrella so that they can be under one jurisdiction and can be monitored at the same time. For example, we ask them to give this particular language training and skills training and other financial loan consultations. So if we bring them under one umbrella, we can jurisdict them to go ahead and do all these three criteria all at the same time.
And again, what we're going to add is we're going to teach them or make them understand each and every process of it, the ABCDs of it. What is a visa? What is a passport? What's going to happen to them when they go to the airport? What's going to happen when they reach there? What to expect and what not. They might not even need to go to the training center. For example, they just want to know the information. We will be there. We'll have helplines and we'll have people who will actually explain it all out to them, make it very clear to them so that they feel inspired to come.
I'm still not clear about the organization structure. So all these organizations that currently exist by different government, different NGOs, government currently Bangladesh government, they'll all report into you.
They'll all be changed or they'll all actually implement all of these extra qualities and they'll just change into Prabashi Proshikal.
But the design of Prabashi Proshikal.
What happens to all whatever they do today?
Exactly.
We're not going to change all the things that they're doing today. We're just going to add up whatever they're lacking. Like whatever inefficiency they have, we're trying to improve that so that they can provide better service to the migrant workers.
I'll make it even easier for you to answer. He's the one who deals with that bank. He's the banker. He is the NRD bank. He's the Bangladesh Korea Technical Center and he sits in JITCO. And I am the government. I have 40 tell me how you're going to run. So what will happen to all these 4 of us?
Why people will go to him?
Yeah, exactly.
So
And
obviously,
again, he's got a pressure from his stakeholders, which is completely different. He's got stakeholder from Japan, he's got Korean ambassador to report to, and I've got my prime minister to report to. So you tell me how you're going to integrate. That's one question I have.
see, it's actually quite easy because giving proper language skills and training skills and technical skills to these migrant workers, it's a criteria that needs to be fulfilled anyway. So it's important. So even if they might be catering to Japanese people going to Japanese stakeholders, still, if you give them the criteria to fulfill, they can still fit inside the criteria. If they have other priorities, they can select the kind of migrants they want. They can select the kind of people they want to go for or attend to. But at the end of the day, the people that they do attend to have to fulfill these criteria. Because at the end of the day, it's something. Providing these forms of training and information to these migrants is something that's non-negotiable. It needs to be implemented by the government today. So it can be done by any institution.
So I really like how you thought of before the campaign, you really thought about the sustainability of it. That's close to you guys. So I was also thinking how you actually went for the target audience, because the very essence of this case is the plight of the migrant workers. You know, the cultural differences, the language barriers, and the situational factors that they have to face. And that's the majority of your overall audience segment. On the other hand, you've thought of AKR branding, where you've thought of targeting probably ACCB plus, perhaps those who are earning well enough, 6,000 plus, and you're also targeting them in your entire case. So I'm really curious as to why you're going on to that audience at all, because they represent a very small minority and they do not represent the plight, overall plight of what this case is about.
See, we think that this form of marketing and campaigning, it needs funds. And the moment corporations think of an issue being big enough and important enough, they'll be willing to give funding into these issues.
What's in it for them?
For example, the same reason why corporates engage in corporate social responsibility. It makes them look good. And when you put across an issue that migrant workers are so important to our economy, and me being a person from BRAC, I'm helping them and I'm funding them, it makes BRAC look good. And
Is it a crowd-funded project?
it's basically a public-private partnership where the government's ministry, expatriates overseas ministry is going to come together with these corporate social corporates together to take care of these probashi pratishtans and establish them properly. See, if you want to implement government policy, you need involvement of the government.
Is it a build-own-operate policy or is it a build-own-transfer policy? Is it a build-BOO, since you're saying it's a private-public partnership, right? So is it a build-own-operate model or is it a build-own-transfer model? You don't know what
We're
it is.
sorry.
Whenever you go to a PPP or a public-private partnership, usually what happens is that it's usually so it's built by the private stakeholders, for example, and then they own them, they operate them, and they transfer to government, and the government runs it, right? So do you have have you thought of it that how it will run, because you're thinking of vocational trainings to be rebranded, right? As what you were explaining to both of them as vocational, as Kushikon Kendra or Kushikon Pratishtha, right? And then you're going to have fundings from corporates or individuals who are going to look good. And then how do you distribute the funds, and how are you going to make your stakeholders really understand as to what your objectives are?
Basically,
The stakeholder management.
Awesome. So basically the funds that you addressed, what are we going to do with the funds that they're going to provide? So basically, we're going to use these funds to facilitate the training that we suggested. facilitate the trainings that we suggested. And one thing that we saw among the workers is that when they want to go outside, they just want to go outside. They want to get done with it. Whatever training you have in front of me, I'm going to take them and I'm going to go outside. Yeah, I don't care if it's enough or I don't care if it's proper. I just want to go outside, and that's what we want to address. How can we solve this problem? How can we solve this perception of them? And that's why we attract the funding, so that we can provide them such as incentives like food for training or sales, stuff like that, so that they can get more smooth during the process, during the training process.
Second thing is that the reason why they sort of go through the situation or experience is because all the manpower businesses, private or public, whatever, they try to sort of take as much profit as they can for themselves, the middlemen basically, and that creates the problem. And that creates the negative experience of people being in these situations. What the case is all about. Now, about your Pratishthan, and where you are saying that you'll be able to give out certificates to all individuals, and without which they cannot travel. So on the other hand, you have scrupulous businessmen who are doing this sort of activities and creating more harm than improvement in the whole area. And on the other hand, you are having some kind of monopolistic situation where without the certificate you cannot travel. Isn't this is opening up a Pandora's box?
Well, basically we had thought about it, and then we thought like after this marketing campaign is done, after the suggested policies are being implemented, after the Provashika Prashikhan Pratishthan is on its way, we're going to market this very certificate outside Bangladesh, so that this certificate holds more value. One thing that the case said that other migrant workers from our neighbor country like India, Pakistan, they get more attention, they get more salary than the migrant workers from our country. Why they have better training? We are ensuring better training here, but does that ensure anything there? Well, basically yes, they're going to see that they're going to see on person to person. Yes, these people, this guy came from Bangladesh and he's performing good. He's doing his job. And then if we market that very certification outside our country, like it's going to have more value.
I know they're going to be bound to come to you, but how do you make sure that corruption doesn't occur even in your area?
See,
And they're going to view you as one of those manpower, and they're going to get scared, and they're not going to approach you at all.
So this is why everything we are doing is very transparent to them. We are going to show them what we are actually providing for them, how they're going to get benefited from this, and what we have involved in the process. Obviously, a scrupulous party who just wants to get advantage by taking the money from them is not going to be able to show them the same thing. The way we will portray it, the way we will put it out to them, it will be understandable to them and anyone else that they might want to refer to, so that they can actually check for themselves what they're signing up for.
if we go, see, we also have our road shows, right? We go to village, same way abortion and safe pregnancy training was given to women in the rural areas. We go from village to village and we talk to people about these are the benefits we're going to give you, just come to us, rather than go to that person, sell off your land, whereas you don't have to sell off your land in our scenario. If you give them the cost-benefit analysis in simple language, they're obviously going to come to us. And the process stays transparent because we're telling them what you need to, what this money is being used for, rather than a dalal coming saying that all you have to do is give me 50,000 taka and we're just going to take care of it. And also the stories of people suffering is going to create a mindset of people becoming more aware of these issues as well. So they would rather come to
I am
us.
very much convinced about your training parts, but my question is smart migration doesn't mean only training. You have to inform them, you have to train them, then you have to send them. Migration cost. So suppose in this year you have trained 500,000 people, but you have your training center, you don't have right to give visa. The visa will come from somebody who is living in Saudi, uncles or something. So how people will come to you only for training if you cannot send them to them, because you have not right to give them visa. So how will you send them?
Yeah.
What will be this your visa?
Like in the beginning, we said that we're kind of merging everything. So the training center, and we will be providing them in the end, and they want to go abroad. We will be the one who will be helping them with the visa processes.
How do you help them? Because your training center, the visa part is different. The agents, the middlemen, they have some villages, they are giving them visa. Last year for Malaysia, 1.4 million people they registered, but government are able only to send only 10,000 people.
While providing visa, what's the embassy going to look for? If the person is well trained, if the person is going to fit in the culture that we're sending him in. So that's how we ensure, that's what we ensure with cross-cultural training, expert consultant.
And even
My question is, suppose you have trained Mr. Roy, he knows his work very well, but how you will give Mr. Roy a visa to Saudi?
that is up to the
I mean, it is
Saudi.
3 lakhs, 4 lakhs, so
That's-
how will you arrange the money?
Well, the visa chances are that's basically exogenous variable. That's basically one of the externalities that we cannot address. But what we are going to making sure here that when he goes to apply for visa, he does his best.
So totally in our country the scenario is totally different. First he gets the visa, then he goes for passport, then he goes for tennis and other things. Totally in our migration scenario is totally different. It's not that I'm somebody is trained from IBM, then I'm applying. It's not happening here. Here somebody is sending visa from Saudi Arabia, then when he speaks again. Before the visa, he has already paid somebody 5 lakhs. So you have to remodel the whole thing here. And otherwise, the training part is only external, but other two things I think is not.
Thank you.